So today we're going to be removing the intake and exhaust manifold off of this motor. We've got a badly cracked exhaust manifold. And I've got a replacement part that I bought on eBay, so I'm going to be putting that in there. I looked on YouTube and I could not really find any good videos on the exact procedure to take these off of here, so I'm going to muddle my way through it. We'll see what we can get. First step is going to be, you gotta take your belts off the front of the motor. Power steering and your alternator both have to come loose, and this bracket here has to come completely off. You got 3 bolts that you gotta pull because there's a bolt hidden right here. And the only way to get to that bolt is to pull all that crap out of the way. So we'll do that and we'll go from there. Okay, I got that bracket loosened. I just got it pulled back. I get plenty of room to get that bolt out and get the old manifold out. When you take that bracket out, put that top bolt back in because it holds that thermostat housing in place. So you need to put it back in, otherwise you will leak coolant all over the place while you're working on your truck. You don't want to do that. So just put that bolt back in there, snug it back up. And your next step is to pull the exhaust off of the manifold. Do that while everything's still bolted up, so it's nice and tight and not trying to flop around all over the place on you. Because these bolts, they can get pretty ugly and nasty. So we'll get that done. See how it goes. Okay, that was not an easy task, getting those bolts off of there. One came out really easy, which is weird because it's the one that's all, see, it's all boogered up really bad right there. I'll focus on it, probably not. Try again. There you go. See those threads? Those threads are garbage. But the nut basically just fell off of there, probably because the threads were garbage. This side, no. That was, no. I went through a sawzall blade. It wasn't going to get in there. I couldn't get the right angle on it. So finally I had to take a hacksaw blade. Take my hacksaw apart. Just take my hacksaw apart. Use just the blade. And spent about 45 minutes hacking at it, and it finally went all the way, almost all the way through, and then the last little tiny little thread, I went there with a hammer and a chisel and just knocked it off of there because I was sick of looking at it. But it's off. Next step is to disconnect the carburetor. You can pull the carburetor completely if you want to, or you can just disconnect everything from the manifold. I'm going to do both. I'm going to pull the carburetor and disconnect everything, just because that makes more sense to me, I guess. So I'll get the carburetor taken off, set it up on top of the valve cover, and then we're going to take off these bolts here. There's one there, and there's supposed to be one over here. If I can get it from this angle. There's supposed to be one over here, but it's missing. So I'll do what I can. Right. Okay, got all that off of there. Carburetor's pulled off. I got that bolt out. That was a nightmare. It started to round off with a 9/16. So I put a 14mm on it, which is a little bit smaller, and was able to grab it, half-inch ratchet. Was able to break it before you get out of there. This one came loose pretty easily. I left it in there to keep everything in one piece while I pull all these other bolts off, and of course that one was missing. So now we're ready to actually pull the manifolds, get them off of there completely, and split them apart. Put the new exhaust manifold on there and put everything back together. It's really simple. It's a really easy job. There's nothing difficult about these motors. Except, you know, for the old rusted, screwed up fasteners all over the place that like to break your knuckles, cause you to curse certain small furry woodland creatures. So when you're removing your bolts from the manifold itself, right? You got these spacers, these steel spacer thingies. Don't lose those. They are not you can't order them. They're not a replaceable part. Nobody makes them. The only place you can get these is through junkyards or eBay or wherever. If you have a machine shop, you can, you know, make one out of some flat steel or something and drill them out. So I just got this manifold all unbolted and stuff, and I was gonna say how important it is to leave your hanger bolts in till last, so that when you take your hanger bolts out, when you take your other bolts out, you're not fighting this manifold falling all over the place, right? But of course, mine's actually busted completely in half, so that was null and void apparently, and it's sitting on studs too, so it's not stupid critical to do that, but that's probably not an acceptable manifold there. Probably not. Well, I think that one's probably got to go. Alright, so now you're ready to put the manifold and everything back in. Use new gaskets, of course, because otherwise you're just, you know, being stupid. We don't like stupid. So I've got the manifolds loosely mated together here. They're not tight. That's just enough to get it to go in there and hang. And then once I get my bolts and everything tightened up, then I can tighten up these and everything will line up the way that it should. I went through with a tap, chased all the threads. These are all 3/8/16, all the threads and everything. Chased all those, got that all ready to go back in. Okay, so now it's all back together. Exhaust manifold's all tightened up, new gaskets are in, all the bolts are in properly, and the truck is actually quiet. It's like a completely different truck sitting in the cab, which is pretty cool. My esteemed helper out here will attest to that fact. Is it like it's like a different truck?
It's quiet.
Yeah, it's very quiet now, which is pretty cool. So there you go, guys. That is how you pull off and replace the exhaust manifold on a Chevy 250 inline 6. Thank you.